Okay.
Welcome to Live from Dennis's House. Today we are spotlighting Cherish by David Cassidy, released 1972. That's right, bitches. I said David Cassidy. This is we got a viewer's choice today. Steve, our own little Shecky Bello chose David Cassidy today. So we're going to go with that. We're going to spotlight David Cassidy, 1972, and the Partridge Family, of course, are all our favorite shows. So I'm not even going to start off the show with a joke today. I'm just going to reminisce about 1972 because it was my favorite year, I have to say. Of all the years that I've ever lived through, 1972 really might have been the best one. I was like 7 years old, 8 years old. There was no responsibility in the world. It was just to have fun, right? My job was just to have fun.
Should I take offense to this?
No, it's just, come on, when you're a child, what is better time than that?
Yeah, you're right.
You know, and especially, what could be better than the summertime? Because I hated school so much, I would have done anything to not to go, right? Like put a match under the thermometer back in the days. It's 111. And then, but times have changed. Like, my kids now, I let them stay home if they want.
Yes.
And they're like, no, I'm good. I'm going to go to school. I'm like, what? You want to go to school?
It's true.
Who raised you?
Right.
Right? So, but like, remember the summer. It was like the best time ever. You could sleep a little later, even though you're a kid. You don't really sleep late anyway because now you're excited. So you get up, and what's the first thing you do? You get your Captain Crunch, and you watch Bugs Bunny, right?
Yes.
That's right.
And then after that, you lounge around for a little while, and then you go out and find your friends.
Yeah.
There's no texting. There's no calling anybody.
Right.
You just go outside, and you'll run into like 10 kids as soon as you walk outside.
Yeah.
And then, like, what was some of your favorite things to do? Mine was playing stickball and wiffle ball and like board games. I was thinking about these games, though, that when I look back at them, I used to enjoy them, but they seem really stupid now. Did you ever remember that thing? It was like color forms, it was called.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I swallowed one of them.
Nice.
That
My
explains
daughter
a lot.
swallowed one, and I brought it to the hospital.
All covered with lead and everything. But it was like a goofiest thing. It's like a little box and it's plastic and you just move these little things around. And then there was the Viewmaster.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah,
It was just, you look at these little pictures and you're like fascinated for hours.
Oh, you were rich.
We lived up on the hill, so we could afford those kind of things. So, so it was a wonderful, wonderful time, and we're going to take you back to 1972. So now we're going to start the show off with a long-distance dedication to Punky Lazar. Before we get to important stuff, we're going to do even more important stuff. First, we're going to talk about the Oscars. Now, we did a whole show about the Oscars, how much I hate the Oscars, and I vowed I would never watch the Oscars.
But you watched.
But guess what I did?
We watched.
And I'll explain why. Because my daughter is taking a film and television production class, so she actually had to watch the Oscars because they had some pool about who was going to win and all that. So I was nice, and I watched with her. And quickly she realized why the Oscars is the worst show on earth. And she left halfway through and just came back down. After 7 awards were given to Mad Max for best editing,
Everything.
best guy clicking that action sign, best key grip. And then she said, all right, I had enough.
Yeah.
So,
Were you nominated?
I was not. And that's
No?
why I was boycotting it.
Okay, all right.
Because they don't let people with tattoos win awards, as we all know. So
We do know.
Because I did. This show could have been up there because, like, I saw some awards. They were Best Animated Short. Now, where would you go to see an animated short? Say, all right, I
That's
want to
a
go
very
see that
good
movie.
question.
What theater plays animated shorts that you could go see, or are they just on YouTube? So therefore, I could qualify for an Academy Award.
Oh, is
then.
that where they are?
I don't know where they are. Who are these people?
We're on.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So it was mired in controversy, and of course, Chris Rock was the host. I love Chris Rock, favorite comedian.
I used to.
But he went on too long.
Yeah.
It was one joke, and he dragged it out for 3.5 hours.
Yes.
And he got everybody upset. He was making Asian jokes.
Yeah.
And now there's Asian people all up in arms about it. And they're like, you can't make fun of us. We're making fun of you.
Right.
So it was just ridiculous. And,
It went on
you know,
too long.
the thing that got to me is that you notice all of these people that were complaining are millionaire working actors.
Yeah.
And they're saying they can't get a break. And I want to read a quote of how the Oscars got started. It was by Louis B. Mayer, from the head of MGM back in the day, 1920. And he said, "I found the best way to handle filmmakers and actors was to hang medals all over them. If I got them cups and awards, they'd kill themselves to produce what I needed."
Yeah, there you go.
Brilliant.
So, welcome back to Live from Dennis's House, only on 474 The Mix. Now, before we get to Cha-Cha, I'm going to talk about our guest over here, our fill-in, and the change of events that happened today. We had so many different turns and twists. At first, we had Dee Dee coming and her little sidekick, Laura, and then they postponed to later on in the month. So then, being a well-prepared man, they used to call me Preparation H in the Cub Scouts, that I had 2 backups ready. So and these were guys who were calling me, harassing me to be on the show. "Oh, please, please, please." I was, "All right, I'll give you a chance." And being the kind of guy that I am, I give the little man a chance.
Yes, he always does.
I'm the little man.
No, not you.
Not you, no.
You're third man on the totem pole. So these other 2 guys, I was going to give a chance. And then the first guy, he's, definitely, no problem. And then he cancels, says he's got bubonic plague.
Meningitis.
Yeah, it's explosive diarrhea, all this stuff. So he cancels. So then I call the second backup, and he says, "Yes, definitely coming." Then he calls up yesterday and says, "Oh, I read my schedule wrong. I'm supposed to be somewhere else that day." And needless to say, these people are all musicians. And that goes back to my point from last week, where all musicians are unreliable dumbasses, except me. Now, I have to say, I'm the most reliable musician I've ever met. I am organized, and I got to say, even back in the day, when I was a ne'er-do-well lying in the gutter, that I was always responsible.
Stop.
That doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't make sense, but I was.
No,
Irresponsible people are lying in the gutter. I don't even understand
and
that.
he's his own judge and jury. Which
When
is
I was in the
hysterical.
gutter, if someone said, "Hey, meet me at 9 o'clock in the other gutter," I would be there.
All right. Oh, well, then I
See?
guess
You know,
so.
you see where I'm going with
Yes.
this?
You
All
were
right.
the best drug addict. that
Exactly. Exactamundo. Yes. All right. So, screw you guys. We got Moss here
That's right.
as a
All
fill-in now.
Thank you.
Big cool mess.
And if
I
Moss,
got the call, and of course I had to appear. My buddy called me and said, "You have to be here and you have to do the show. It's a first, so here we go."
Yes,
There you go.
good. So, and if this works out good, you can be a
special
temporary,
guest.
permanent co-host.
That's right.
So, all right. So now we're going to see what's happening in the fabulous gossip world of Cha-Cha.
Yes.
Gossip columnist to the stars.
So
Worse
I
than a
have a
musician?
list
Yeah.
I have a
all
list
show business. All right, go ahead.
of celebrities who said that if Donald Trump wins the presidency, they're leaving. So I'm going to keep a list and make sure, Steven,
yes.
Okay.
we're going to
All
be
right.
at the
I'm gonna
border.
Well, read this list, because that
Okay.
might help me vote right now.
They're leaving the country.
Okay.
Yes, if
Yes.
Trump wins,
Okay.
they're leaving the country.
Yes. I've never heard of this man, but Omar Hardwick. He's going to Italy.
I like
Jon
it, Italy.
Stewart said he's going to another planet. Samuel L. Jackson going to South Africa. Barry Diller has no destination specified, but he's
But
leaving.
he's leaving.
Eddie Griffin is going to Africa. Cher is going to Jupiter. And
Florida.
drum roll, please. Rosie O'Donnell is going to Canada.
Nice.
So
They
we're
won't
gonna,
have her.
You know where I'm going? I'm going to Uranus. I heard.
you know where I'm going? Right here.
But I actually did hear that Al Sharpton was on that list too. So
Al.
I think everyone should vote for Trump just to get
Yeah.
rid of Al
Just
Let
Sharpton.
me write Big Al on here.
Even Steven said he's moving to New Jersey if Trump wins.
That's right.
So,
He's leaving
Over
the
the
country.
bridge.
if there was ever a reason to vote, this is it.
Yeah, so we will be monitoring that.
Yes,
and,
we are going to.
keep see
This
what's
is
going
not
on.
going to be thrown out, and that's the word on the street.
All right, Steven. So what's going on in the crazy, wacky world of Bello?
It was a good week. I missed you guys.
Missed
Oh,
you.
we missed you.
Watching a lot of TV. I was home. I saw in one of the coming attractions, I don't know what it is, but the People versus O.J. Simpson.
Right,
I know
right.
nothing about it. I don't know who these people are, but don't they realize O.J. is a killer? You know, you got to stay away from that guy. They better be careful. Anyway,
Yeah, he already won one battle.
since Mass was coming, I remember the joke that Matt told me in 5th grade. One of my favorite jokes.
Here we go.
5th grade, and I still remember this joke. So a kid walks in on his father in the bathroom taking a shower, and he looks at his dad, and he's like, "Well, what's that, Dad?" And the father's all embarrassed. He goes, that's just my nerve, son." So he's like, "Okay." Next day he's in school, and he's being a wise guy, and the teacher calls him up in front of the class and says, "You know, you have some nerve, Johnny." And he says, "Well, thank you. You should see my father's." That's one of my favorite jokes from my childhood, and it was probably around
1972.
Absolutely, that was about right.
So thank you for that, Max. Do you remember that?
Oh, that's good.
Very good.
Like it was yesterday.
Yes, yes, yes.
I think
All
it
right.
was.
Hey, welcome back. And now we are going to spotlight this album, David Cassidy, Cherish, released in 1972. And we all know the Partridge Family. It was on ABC from 1970 to 1974. And as Stephen was saying before, it was a fabricated TV musical family that was based on an actual band called the Cowsills. And it was described as the Monkees meet the Brady Bunch, because it was the same company that the Monkees did the Monkees, they did this. So the show starred David Cassidy as Keith Partridge, of course, and his real-life stepmother, Shirley Jones. Yeah. And he showed up for the audition, and they didn't even know he could sing. And they actually agreed to let him be the lead vocalist later on. And they brought in songwriters, the best songwriters of the day. They had Carole King, Paul Anka, Neil Sedaka, and a whole bunch of top-notch studio musicians. Now, I want to talk about this, Stephen, because you actually mentioned it, that the studio musicians that they brought in, they were called the Wrecking Crew, and they were in California. They played on everybody's albums, and they were the most famous. And one of the guys in the Wrecking Crew and plays on this album is Mike Melvoin.
Yes.
And his daughter is Wendy Melvoin, who is of Wendy and Lisa fame. And from Prince's band, right?
Okay.
So,
Right,
and
the
Lisa,
Revolution.
her father was,
cool.
her name's Lisa Coleman. And her
Right.
dad is Gary Coleman, but not
What?
that
No.
Gary Coleman.
Not what you're talking about, Willis. No, no.
Not that
You
Gary
got me
Coleman.
again.
He was another member of the Wrecking
Yes,
Crew.
yes.
Wow.
And so they met as little kids, and they've been friends all their
Yeah.
lives. But did you know that they both came out and they've been having they were together in more ways than one?
That they
Who is
were
this?
girlfriend and girlfriend.
Wendy and Lisa.
from
Oh,
Prince's
okay.
band. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes, did you know they were dating?
No, I didn't. I
Yes.
kind of had a feeling.
Wow.
I think they've been
But-
dating since they were in diapers. This is because that's when they met on the set of, you know what I mean? And their families are friends, so they've been together for a long time.
Weren't they wearing
I
diapers in
did
Purple
not
Rain?
know that. I did not know that.
I did not know that. That's
did
wild
not
and
know that.
wacky facts.
Did you know
there.
that Shirley Jones's role prior to the Partridge Family, what she was?
She was an actress. She
Right.
actually won an Academy Award.
Oklahoma?
She played a prostitute.
In what?
I don't remember the name of the show.
Well,
sorry about
that's
that.
some poor facts there.
That's poor facts, but it's true. I can find it.
All right, Google that.
She was cute.
And she also
Yeah.
turned down the role as Mrs. Brady.
Oh, really?
That
Yes,
I did
that-
hear
that-
that.
Ah,
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome.
She didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom, and that is what she said. And now she was actually the first working mother on television. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A
That is
single
true.
working mother
Well,
on television.
Yeah.
That's what she
originally they were going to have her as divorced, but that seemed too
That
risque,
wouldn't
so they
fly,
made
yeah.
her widowed. Why couldn't they just have a husband?
Yeah.
Better off with a single mom.
women
Yeah,
had
'cause
Reuben.
then she was
Reuben
free
Kincaid
to take
would
the
have been
kids.
Yeah.
obsolete.
I think
Husband.
there was a pilot
Yeah.
where she actually dated her actual husband for that
really?
show.
Oh,
The pilot
because
for the show.
her husband, well, I don't know
David
about that time,
Cassidy's
but
dad?
David Cassidy's father was Jack Cassidy.
Right.
And he was a famous actor as
Yeah.
well, who actually ended up dying in a fire.
Yeah, I
Right.
remember
Very
that.
mysteriously.
I remember that on the
Yeah.
cover of the newspaper
Right.
back in the 70s.
And they showed Wendy and Lisa running away from the scene in matches.
That is so not true.
So anyway, with all these top-notch musicians and songwriters, that they came up with the first song, which was "I Think I Love You," and it was released even before the show started. And for 1970, it outsold "Bridge Over Troubled Water"
Wow.
and "Let It Be."
Oh, my
It was
gosh.
single of the year. 6 gold albums they had, and 7 top 40 hits. You know what that tells me? Never underestimate the power of the 12-year-old girl.
It's true.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So the show premiered ABC September 1970, right after Nanny and the Professor and Brady Bunch.
Yes,
What a
yes.
lineup.
Oh, that was great. That Friday night was great.
Yes,
That was
Friday night,
It really was.
1970s. It was
Couple,
awesome.
Yeah.
Love American Style
Yeah,
later.
yeah. Room 222.
Yes,
even.
yes.
wasn't allowed to
Karen
watch
Valentine.
these
I was in
shows.
Yeah,
love
these
with
were
her.
all
Yeah.
risque. People
Yeah.
had to live in the ghetto like me and Steven to watch
Yeah.
these things. We'd go in front of the store windows to watch the TV through the glass.
We would meet each other in the gutter, right? Yeah.
Can't you put
Anyway.
on a nice show?
So this was a really good show. Now you would think
Yes.
somebody like me and Steven would be too cool to watch Brady Bunch, but I mean Partridge Family.
Oh.
But we were not. We were stupid little kids, so you don't really know.
Right, you
And it was
were
a very
though.
entertaining
was
show, I
cool
gotta
at the
say.
time.
Good stuff,
Right.
yeah.
That was cool.
If you were older than us at that time, then you couldn't. If you were like 18 at this time, you
That
couldn't
would
be
not be
watching
cool.
it.
Right,
But if
right,
you're
right.
8, it was cool. And it was really a good show. That Danny was hysterical.
Yeah.
Right.
The interaction between him and Reuben Kincaid, played by
Yes.
Dave Madden, they had great. And everyone was saying, as for a little kid, he had the best comedic timing.
Yes.
You know, and and it was just, and the songs were really good too. You know, as we said, besides I Think I Love
still
You,
love
they had
them.
all
Yeah.
these, really good songs.
He was 10 years old at that time, right?
Danny,
He was
yeah,
really
yeah,
young,
and
yeah.
it was so funny watching them play. That Danny was talking about how he used to strum the bass, and Keith had to yell at him one day, "You idiot! You don't strum the bass, you pluck it." And of course, Tracy, my favorite triangle player of all
yeah,
time,
yeah.
and very tragically,
Died.
she is the only one that died, the youngest
Yeah.
one.
Right.
Everyone else
Yeah,
was
right.
still alive, and they fired the first drummer for some unknown
Oh,
reason.
yeah, the Chris.
I can't,
Yeah, I forgot
I can't
about
even
that.
figure out why.
They
There's no
replaced
facts
him with
of it.
another
Yes.
Chris.
Yeah.
He was
Didn't even look
annoying.
even
Yeah.
similar. They didn't even
Yeah.
look alike.
Yeah,
I
he could
forgot
hold the
about
beat.
that.
He wanted more money, he said. So, so then David Cassidy, of course, became the biggest teen star in the world. A teen sensation with the puka shells and a shag haircut. And he far surpassed all those other guys of the time, like Donny Osmond, Bobby
Yeah.
Sherman,
Yeah.
and all this. Now,
Give me a
I
break.
got to say that I am the farthest from being homosexual of anybody in the world, obviously.
Absolutely.
But I have to say, he is the best looking man I've ever seen in my life.
Did you like him on The Celebrity Apprentice?
Yeah, that was, past his prime. But I got to say, back then in
Definitely.
1972,
Yeah,
look at
crazy.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
Like a hot chick.
Just-
Yeah.
yeah.
you're
No,
right,
like
you're
if we
right,
were
yeah.
in jail, this...
I never thought about that.
Because
but,
I don't think any other man is good looking. Well, Brad Pitt
Brad
back
Pitt.
in Legend of the Fall only. But, but David Cassidy, I got to say, I had a man crush on him.
Yeah,
Wait a
Not that there's
second.
anything
So tell
wrong
us
with
more
that.
about your man crushes now.
And his voice. I love
He
his
does.
voice.
He have a
Nobody
good
sings
voice.
like that kid.
Look at that, Mash. You're going to tell me if you're in
I
jail?
think so. I do like that sweater.
Exactly. Oh, so I gotta say, I'll get to this right now. Then I discussed last week how my sister took me to the David Cassidy
Yes,
concert
that's right,
when
that's
I
right.
was 8 years old.
where this is
And
all
look,
stemming
this is
from.
the playbill or whatever they call that
Wow,
from
you
the
still
actual
have it?
Wow,
concert.
you really went
I still
off
have
with
it.
him.
Who needs therapy? We found it all out right now.
Yes.
First concert, first everything.
And then look, I
Wait, is
also
this
said
lipstick? What?
so to prove I wasn't lying. I said I went to the Rolling Stones
Yeah. You
still
afterwards,
got
and
that.
there's Rolling Stones from
Awesome,
1975. So a
You're
lot of good
redeeming
stuff
your
up there.
man.
Put it down.
That's
Don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
That is
Don't touch
great
my stuff. My letters.
From John Sheehan.
Cherish the cabin.
Cherish the cabin.
Dad. Oh, my God.
All right, the show's getting out of control. I don't know where we are, but anyway.
I loved him
so,
very much.
All right, so he had a lot of conflicting emotions though on the show because he actually was a rock star in his own mind, and he loved rock music. His favorite was Jimi Hendrix. So when he got into the show and then he became this teen idol, he says, "I don't want to be a teen idol. I want to be a rock star."
Right.
So so then they let him put out this album, and as we were discussing before, you would have thought, thunk.
Think, thought, thunk.
Stink, stank, stunk, that he would have put out some real rock music,
Right,
but he did
right.
not. He put out the same
Same
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah. So
So there's a
I don't
funny
know.
segue back into this whole thing about you talk about Wendy and Prince and that whole thing.
Right.
Prince has now got the permission, or he's working on the final permission to release an album of Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Wow. I thought you were going to say something to do with David
Partridge
Cassidy.
Family.
Yeah. That he is forming a band with David
That's
Cassidy. The new Partridge Family. Wendy, Lisa, Prince, and David Cassidy. So, yeah.
It's a good idea.
That's really not bad.
The show actually had many, many
Yeah,
great guests.
right?
Do you remember this?
Yes,
My favorite show of
absolutely.
all of them, I believe, was the Richard Pryor and Lou Gossett Jr. episode.
Oh,
when they had a
yeah.
firehouse and they were in the ghetto and they were doing all this
And
stuff.
that was a great song, too.
And
Yeah,
they all went to
yeah.
the Oscars.
And Meathead. was
Yes,
it?
Meathead
Yeah.
played
Right,
Snake,
right.
the bike.
Right. Well,
Jodie
what's his
Foster
real
was
name?
Jodie
a
Foster,
regular.
yeah.
Yeah, she was so cute.
Yeah.
She played, what was that girl's name? I don't know. Well, Mark Hamill was on the show.
Yeah.
Ray Bulger played the grandfather.
Oh, that's right, that's
Charlie's
right.
Angels were on it. Jacqueline Smith and Cheryl Ladd.
Yes.
Howard
Bert
Cosell.
Convey, Howard Cosell.
Yeah.
Anyone who was anyone was
Yeah,
on
I
this
guess
show.
it was good to be on that show back then.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Awesome.
then around, I don't know what year it was, but later on, David Cassidy, who was longing to shed his teen idol image, he posed naked in Rolling Stone magazine.
Naked?
Moss has that at his house. They didn't show everything. It wasn't X-rated, but he
Can
was.
you open up that?
You know,
Says that.
Centerfold
It was a
drop
centerfold to drop.
ABC got a little crazy because this was a money-making machine, and they wanted to protect that. You know, they had lunchboxes, bubblegum cards, everything. And
They
didn't
had or
want-
you had?
Oh, I owned some of them, but they were making money from it. And then, you know, so at this time, David was, you know, at his wit's end because he was doing concerts every weekend, and then he had to come back on Monday and do the show all week.
Right.
And, you know, he wanted to get out of the show, and Shirley was getting mad at him because he'd be late and probably all fired up and stuff.
He was exhausted.
Yeah, so then the final show was March 1974 because you know what they did the final season? This show was like #1 on Fridays. They had that whole lineup, right?
Right.
So in
Yeah.
'74, they take the show, they move it to Saturday against All in the
Oh,
Family.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that was a
Yeah.
suicidal
That was,
move.
yeah.
Meathead
And-
move.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. So, and that was it, and the party was over. And then around this time also, that a lot of girls were hurt at a concert because it was like girls going crazy, and I'm pushing them down to get to up front, you
Girls
know?
Gone Wild in
And-
1972.
The original.
Yeah, so, but very sadly, one girl died at a concert in London, and Keith retired from touring after
yes,
that,
I do
and he never got
remember.
over it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, not much happened in his career after that. Although the highlight for me was, do you guys remember this show? It was in 1978. He played David Cassidy, Man Undercover. No, it was the best show. He went back. He was a cop, and he went back to high school, and he went undercover, and he was arresting all these kids for doing drugs. and
Man Undercovers?
Awesome.
What?
I can't believe I don't remember
Oh, it was
that.
the best show.
Like 21 Jump Street?
Yes,
Yeah,
but it was
right. I
a
guess
precursor.
that was- yeah.
It was the
That's where they got- they
exactly.
got it
They
from.
stole the
Wow,
idea
I
from
awesome.
him.
remember something a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
So then, you know, he later on he made a comeback, and he was in plays. He was in Joseph and the Amazing
Yes,
Technicolor
that I remember.
Dreamcoat.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
And then, you know, he had his issues. He had a few DWIs. He's been married 3 times, including actress Kay Lenz. Are you familiar with her?
No.
Look her up. Very
Kay
beautiful
Lenz.
actress
Yeah,
of the
she's
day.
nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then, you know, the rest of them, Danny had his own troubles.
Oh,
he got a
poor
lot of drug issues, and he was caught with a transgender in
Yes,
a car somewhere.
yes.
Yeah.
And,
He was wrestling
Greatest
for a
day
while,
of his
right?
life. Yeah, yeah. The poor
Yeah,
kid.
yeah.
Became a wrestler.
Oh, yeah.
Kinda,
yeah,
and
yeah.
remember he fought Greg Brady at one point
Yes,
too, and
yes.
beat his ass
He fought my friend Bob Levy, too. Do you
Did
know
he
that?
really?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that really happened.
on stage.
Yeah, oh, yeah, in the in the ring and everything.
Wow.
It was terrible.
Very
Poor Bobby.
exciting. So yeah, and that is that for the Partridge Family.
Well, Susan Day, right? She
Oh,
had, she had a lot of
Susan Day,
success.
yes.
Yeah,
I want to talk about her.
She
That-
had a big crush
She
on him.
she actually
Yes.
had anorexia and bulimia.
Yeah.
She invented those two things.
Oh, that was an
And
invention?
Aren't they
remember-
opposites?
No, not really. And that she actually turned orange
Orange.
during one season because all she was eating was carrots, and she
Wow.
actually turned orange.
her hands, you could see her hands.
Really?
Yeah.
Like Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was it. And the show went off the air in '74. So now it's time. We're going to smell the album, and we're going to do a little news. and we're in for a big treat.
Oh,
That's a nice one. Pass it on. So,
wow. Oh, my.
Okay.
I think my
All right.
eyes are watering.
Let's
all
see,
the
great.
news that's not fit to print. I'm going to read it here.
Something.
Pass
You
it on
go,
to Steven. All right. So, this story takes place in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A midget.
It's going to be interesting. it's also Oklahoma with a midget.
Probably not allowed to say
Okay.
this, but midget locked in Walmart overnight after getting stuck in toilet. Tulsa, Oklahoma. A little person is furious after spending the night stuck in a Walmart men's room on Sunday. I went in there at closing time when I heard nature calling, tells the 31-year-old man. I went into the bathroom, climbed up the toilet, then fell in. I was stuck, flopping around like that, screaming and yelling for 20 minutes when the lights shut off. I called Walmart headquarters with my cell phone, but they were not taking me seriously. The guy on the other end put me on speaker to retell my situation, only to be met with an entire office erupt with laughter. Very insensitive of them.
Yes.
Texans. Well, the Texans.
They told me prank phone calls are not encouraged by the company, but thanked me for the laugh anyway. So the Walmart employee who rescued the man this morning was able to comment, "Yeah, I heard the little fella in there cursing like a sailor. I opened the door and he was waving his tiny arms and legs around like an octopus. I took about 15 pictures of him before I helped him out of the toilet. I even managed to get my hat on him for a couple shots.
Oh, man.
He punched me square in the nuts, but it was totally worth it."
You make that up.
I did not. I am a legitimate newsman. I am not Brian. What's that guy's name who made up the
Mickey
news stories?
Matarulo.
Brian Wilson or something. There was,
Brian Williams.
Brian Williams. Very good. See, this is why we got mass here. Dee Dee would never know that.
His alias is Mickey Matarulo.
That is
We are
ridiculous.
so getting thrown off.
How small was this guy? Like this big? You know what I mean? That's
I don't know.
ridiculous.
I don't know what the size is, but I just
Just
investigative
report.
journalist.
Yes, all right.
I find news where other people are not willing to go. I'm willing to go in Walmart toilets to find a story.
Texas Walmart
Yeah.
toilets.
Yes.
No, it was
You
Oklahoma.
don't make the
Oklahoma.
news, you just
Where the
report the
wind.
news.
Exactly. Sometimes I make it. I actually threw the guy in the toilet to make a good story because it was a slow news week.
And
So
you send Bill to take the pictures.
Oh man.
yeah. So
Punch me
there we
square
go.
in the
Oh,
nuts.
I know what we got to get.
What?
I even told Cha-Cha to remind me about this. So, Bill, I'm going to ask you, the engineer, to reach up top there next to the Sigmund, the sea monsters, and get me my bus.
Right next to The Walking Dead.
There you go. Awesome.
Oh, this just in, right off the presses. Here is my Partridge Family bus. Yes.
Awesome.
Look at that. You can't get cooler than
So
that bus.
cool.
I got to say,
That
we need to
was
talk
cool.
about that bus.
Come on.
So, all right. Well, anybody else got anything else they want to say? Mass, you got
That
anything
is
before we
awesome.
wrap it up?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you so much. Thanks
You
for the
wanna-
invite.
Want to look at the
Happy to
picture
be
of him
here.
again? Yes, hopefully you'll be
I'm
back
allowed.
soon.
I'm definitely. There's the centerfold.
That's what we were talking about.
All right,
Pages
so
stuck
that's
together.
it. Thanks for joining us here on Live from Dennis's house, only at 474 The Mix, where the music matters. See you next week. I'll be doing another album and behaving badly. Like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, DennisMorgillo.com. Watch me on the radio and Optimum Cable and all social media.